What's up, guys? So before we get into the video, I just want to share with you a quick pro tip for repairing a surfboard ding. If you already have a bunch of epoxy, if you make surfboards, because you follow my channel because of that, well, get some of these little tiny syringes for dispensing medicine for like pets or kids or children or infants or what have you. These syringes are awesome. You can dispense tiny little amounts of epoxy, all the way down to like 1 cc, half a cc of epoxy. So I just keep 2 little containers in mason jars of epoxy for any time I need to do a small amount of work. These work phenomenal. So you just saw me do a quick repair on this board, and it's, yeah, you totally will get your proportions correctly with these. I think they're available everywhere, but I got a whole bag of like 50 for a couple bucks on Amazon. That's like, you know, that'll be like a lifetime supply for me. Oh, and I know I probably should have used a little fiberglass to reinforce the ding, but I just wanted to seal it up for now. So, what's this video about? Well, this video is about hurricanes. Alright, let's go check out the surf. As surfers, we have a love-hate relationship with the wind, and to a bigger or maybe smaller degree, hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones, depending on which part of the world you're in, because the name depends on which part of the world you're in, apparently. Where I live, well, we call them hurricanes. So what exactly is a hurricane? Well, a hurricane is both a bane for people who are in the path of a hurricane, or for a surfer, it can mean possibly really big waves. Because without wind or storms, there really would be no surf. And wind is what causes, well, swell, ground swell, wind waves, depending on if it's close to the shore or if it's really far off into the ocean. So what we really want as surfers is we want storms that are far away from land that cause a disturbance out in the ocean, which then creates waves that make it all the way, that travel hundreds of miles or thousands of miles or kilometers to the shorelines where we get to enjoy that beautiful surf. So Hurricane Teddy recently just passed by, and it came up through the middle of the Atlantic. It didn't actually make landfall in the Atlantic coast of Canada, which is where I am, which was great, but which was even better was because it stayed offshore, at least leading up to when it was starting to head close to us. And I tracked the storm days ahead of time just to keep an eye on to see how the waves were forming, what days would be the best surf. The days leading up to where the hurricane could possibly make landfall had the best potential for the best waves, which I've shot some footage that I wanted to share in this video because I thought it would be kind of neat. Now, if you want a really great video with some completely insane epic surf in the Atlantic, go check out Barley's vlog. He has some of the best surf footage that I've seen in a while in the Atlantic. These waves that were being pushed up to the Atlantic coast for me were pretty big on one of the days, and the days leading up to it, they were a decent size. Certainly, I don't get to go out in waves that are massive or bigger than overhead very often. I'm probably the most comfortable surfing waves that are overhead or below, but when it starts hitting like 8, 9, 10 feet or bigger, like that I'm not used to at all. But I did actually go out in them a little bit, but I didn't have a ton of luck catching those waves because they were pretty fast moving and just, I wasn't getting into the right position. One day I did take my GoPro leading up to it, so I got a little footage there, so that was a lot of fun. One thing that I will note is the surf here didn't get nearly as big as it did in some parts of the States, because we have the continental shelf and it's very shallow leading up into Canada, or the Atlantic provinces where I am. What that means is that continental shelf gives really great fishing grounds, because we have the Grand Banks, we have, I forget, there's some other fishing banks. but some of the best fishing in the world. What that also does is it impedes or it takes away energy of ground swell when really big waves start forming out into the Atlantic and they start making our way in. Some of that energy gets dissipated before it actually reaches the shore, where for us surfers, we get to enjoy the waves. One thing I never realized is to be a surfer is to be basically a weather watcher. Or it'd be really great if you make friends with a meteorologist, because the weather plays such a big deal for tracking and understanding really great surf. So I started looking forward to the surf days ahead, along with many other surfers as well. One day it was just completely jammed at the beach. The parking lot was completely full. Everyone was out surfing, beginners, intermediates, experts, everyone was out. It was, I won't say pandemonium, but it was crowded. Okay, so the day of the big surf. I was tracking this storm for days, as I mentioned, and it was supposed to really peak on Monday, September, I believe, the 21st? Yes, the 21st. What that meant was I got up super early and I headed out to try to beat the crowds. Alright, morning guys. It's like 6:30 in the morning. Hurricane Teddy is off the coast, so I think let's go check out the surf. Try to get out there before all the people get out there and it starts getting a little crazy. Break of dawn. It's also only 5 degrees out, so it's pretty darn cold. Alright, we're getting close. Getting excited. It's supposed to be offshore wind. It's supposed to blow pretty strong later, so hopefully I'm gonna beat it by getting out here early. So let's just see. Fingers crossed. Yesterday it was so windy that it was basically blowing me off the board when I was trying to get into a wave. Got into a couple, but it was just blowing a gale. I think Magic Seaweed put the waves at 10 feet, and I'm sure at times it possibly could have been bigger. But on average, I would say they were averaging anywhere from 7 to 10 feet consistently, at least for the first part of the day. So I got there super early, wasn't a lot of people. I did go in the water. I caught a couple rides, but just some of the smaller stuff, the wave period was perfect. The waves were really big, but the wave period was long enough that I was able to paddle out and not get pummeled, because I was able to get past where the waves were breaking and I had enough time. So that was awesome. Now, I should have rode something a little bit shorter, because then I could drop in on some of these waves, because they were kind of steep and pitching, but regardless, I don't think I would have caught that many more waves. So what I ended up doing after going in for my session early in the morning, there was just a handful of us out there. Chatted with a few people. Some people were catching a couple of waves here and there, but ultimately I came in, I was tired, and what I decided to do was take a rest, and then I grabbed my camera and then I just filmed some of the bigger waves. And then there were some more people going in and surfing a point. As the morning progressed, more and more surfers came, but it never really got super busy. So I shot some footage here, and I thought it'd be fun just to share it with you guys. Yeah, as you can see here, some of these waves are pretty big. I can't really tell based on just the footage, but you can see, gauging by the size of the surfer versus the waves, yeah, I think they were pretty big. So I did speak to some of the surfers that were out there, and they said it was definitely 10 feet out there. So yeah, it was big, at least big for here. Ultimately, the wind did pick up later in the day. It was kind of cross-shore, offshore, and the waves started kind of dying off at that point. I did go back in for a second session later in the day and caught a couple waves, but they weren't nearly as big, and they were starting to get a really choppy later in the day. And again, it still wasn't overly busy. Now, I don't know if because it was COVID and, you know, not as many people could travel to come for the better surf, but it wasn't as busy as I thought it would be. Now, what made this hurricane great was Hurricane Teddy never did make landfall. It skirted us, so we missed it completely, which was awesome. So no destruction there. And it did bring some pretty epic waves. Even though I didn't surf the biggest waves, I did get some really good waves the days leading up to it. I had a blast. Oh, and the water was warm as well, so that was a big plus. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun just to share this footage. I shot it. I didn't know what to really do with it. I could include it with maybe a build video or something, but I thought it'd be fun just to share a surfer's perspective of hurricanes and the promise of what a surfer looks forward to when there's big surf coming, when we hear about a hurricane. So yeah, I don't know what part of the world you are, but leave a comment down below if you look forward to hurricanes, cyclones, or typhoons, or storms or weather patterns. And also, do people you know confuse wind being equivalent to good surf? Because I often hear that when it's windy, people will say, oh, the surf is going to be great for you, when that's kind of true, but it's not really true. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed some of this surf footage. I do plan on making some more boards. I got some ideas on the go, as I mentioned, after my longboard build that's hanging up in the ceiling. Probably it'll be next year or so, but I got other videos coming out on my channel. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.